Have you ever wondered what happened before the Big Bang, before time itself even began? It's a question that has baffled scientists and philosophers for centuries. We call it the frame before time. It's a concept so mind-bending. It pushes the very limits of our understanding. Our journey starts with what we know. The Big Bang, about 13.8 billion years ago. Our entire universe burst into existence from an infinitesimally small, hot, dense point called a singularity. From this single moment, everything we see around us, galaxies, stars, planets, and even, began, the laws of physics as we know them, including time and space, were born in that fiery instant. But this raises a profound question. If time started with the Big Bang, what does before even mean? It's like asking what's north of the North Pole. The concept doesn't seem to make sense within our framework of reality. Stephen Hawking famously suggested that asking what came before the Big Bang is meaningless because time itself didn't exist. According to his no boundary proposal, the universe didn't have a starting point in the conventional sense. It just is. The past is finite but has no beginning, like the surface of a sphere. You can travel around it, but you'll never find an edge or a starting point. However, not everyone agrees. Other theories offer tantalizing glimpses into a possible pre-universe. One of the most popular is the idea of a multiverse. In this scenario, our universe is just one bubble among an infinite sea of other universes, each potentially with its own unique laws of physics. New universes, or baby universes, could be constantly budding off from others, a process called eternal inflation. So, the frame before time wasn't an empty void, but a chaotic, high-energy space where universes were being created all the time. Our Big Bang was just one event in a much grander, eternal, cosmic drama. Then there's the cyclical model, an idea that goes back to ancient philosophies. This theory suggests that our universe goes through an endless cycle of birth, expansion, and death. It starts with a Big Bang, expands, and then, instead of expanding forever, it eventually collapses back on itself in a big crunch. This collapse then rebounds into another Big Bang, creating a new universe. In this view, our universe is just the latest in an infinite series of universes. The frame before time was simply the end of a previous cosmic cycle. It's a beautiful, poetic idea universe that is constantly reborn from its own ashes, like a cosmic phoenix. String theory, one of the leading candidates for a theory of everything, also offers its own perspective. It proposes that the fundamental components of our universe aren't particles, but tiny, vibrating strings of energy. String theory requires extra dimensions, beyond the 3 spatial dimensions and 1 time dimension we experience. Some versions of string theory, like the ekpyrotic model, suggest our universe was formed from the collision of 2 branes, higher dimensional membranes drifting in this higher dimensional space. The frame before time was a calm, cold, and nearly empty reality. The collision of these branes released a massive amount of energy, triggering the hot, dense state we call the Big Bang. So, what was this frame before time? Was it a state of pure nothingness? A quantum foam of potential universes? The final moments of a previous cosmos? Or a higher dimensional realm we can't perceive? The honest answer is, we don't know. We're like detectives arriving at the scene of a cosmic explosion, trying to piece together what happened from the debris. Our telescopes can only see back to about 380,000 years after the Big Bang, when the universe became transparent. Before that, it was an opaque plasma, a wall we cannot see past with light. To probe further, scientists are looking for clues in the cosmic microwave background radiation, the faint afterglow of the Big Bang. They're searching for specific patterns or gravitational waves that might have been created in the very first moments of existence. These ripples in space-time could carry information from before the Big Bang, giving us our first real evidence of what that primordial state was like. Experiments like the Large Hadron Collider also help us understand the extreme conditions of the early universe by smashing particles together at incredible speeds. The quest to understand the frame before time isn't just a scientific puzzle. It's a deeply human one. It touches on our fundamental desire to know where we came from and what our place is in the cosmos. It forces us to confront the limits of our knowledge and the vastness of what remains unknown. The fact that we can even ask these questions is a testament to the power of human curiosity. Each theory, from Hawking's no-boundary proposal to the cyclical universe and the multiverse, a different picture of our cosmic origins. Each one is a product of brilliant minds pushing the boundaries of imagination and mathematics. While we may not have a definitive answer today, the journey itself is what matters. It expands our minds and deepens our appreciation for the incredible, mysterious universe we are a part of. The frame before time remains the ultimate mystery. A blank canvas on which the story of everything was about to be painted, and the thought that we are living, breathing parts of that story is truly awe-inspiring. Have you ever noticed how the most successful people rarely broadcast their next move? They don't post about their big goals on social media or tell everyone their master plan. It's almost as if they're operating under an unwritten rule, a secret code of conduct. Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on this very principle. It's often called the law of silence, and understanding it can fundamentally change the way you approach your ambitions in your life. So, what exactly is the law of silence? In a nutshell, it's the practice of keeping your goals, plans, and major life moves to yourself until they are completed or have gained significant momentum. This isn't about being secretive or distrustful of others. It's a strategic psychological tool that protects your energy, your focus, and the very essence of your dreams. Think of your goal as a delicate seed. If you expose it to the world too early, it's vulnerable to the harsh weather of doubt, criticism, and even the well-intentioned but misguided opinions of others. By keeping it silent, you create a private greenhouse where your seed can germinate and grow strong roots, protected from the outside world. Let's dive into the psychology behind this. When you announce a big goal, your brain releases a small hit of dopamine, the same pleasure chemical you get when you actually achieve something. This is what psychologists call social reality. Telling people about your intention gives you a premature sense of accomplishment. It tricks your brain into feeling like you've already done the hard work, which can sap your motivation to actually follow through. You get the social reward without the effort. By staying silent, you preserve that internal tension, that hunger for accomplishment. All that energy, instead of being dissipated through talking, gets channeled directly into doing the work. Furthermore, silence is your shield against negativity. The moment you share a bold ambition, you open yourself up to a flood of external feedback. Your friends and family, often with the best intentions, might project their own fears and limitations onto you. They might say things like, "Are you sure you can do that?" Or "That sounds really risky." Even subtle skepticism can plant seeds of doubt in your mind, causing you to second-guess your own capabilities. Remember, your dream is yours alone. It was given to you, not them. Protecting it from the world's unsolicited advice is not arrogance, it's wisdom. It's about creating a sacred space for your vision to flourish, untainted by external noise. Let's think about this practically. Imagine you want to start a new business. If you announce it on day one, you'll be bombarded with questions and opinions. What's your business plan? Who are your competitors? Do you know how hard that is? This external pressure can be overwhelming and can divert your focus from the essential first steps, like market research and product development. Now, imagine the alternative. You work quietly, diligently. Behind the scenes, you build your product, you test your market, you secure your first few clients. Then, when you finally do announce your business, you're not presenting a fragile idea, you're presenting a tangible reality. You're speaking from a position of strength, with results to back you up. The conversation shifts from, "Can you do it?" to, "Wow, how did you do it?" The power dynamic is completely transformed. This principle doesn't just apply to massive goals like starting a business. It's relevant in all areas of life. Want to run a marathon? Start training quietly. Let your progress speak for itself. Working towards a promotion, focus on delivering exceptional results, not on talking about your ambition. The power of silence lies in its ability to build undeniable proof. Actions will always speak louder than words. And when you let your results do the talking, they are far more convincing than any promise you could ever make. Think of it as building your case. You don't go to court and tell the judge what your asterisk going asterisk to prove. You present the evidence you've already gathered. Your life works the same way. So, how can you start implementing the law of silence today. It starts with a conscious decision. The next time you set a new goal for yourself, resist the immediate urge to post about it or tell all your friends. Instead, write it down for yourself. Create a detailed plan of action. Break it down into small, manageable steps, and then focus all your energy on taking that first step. Then the next, and the next. This isn't to say you should become a recluse. It's okay to have a small, trusted circle of mentor, a spouse, or a very close friend who you can confide in for genuine support and accountability. The key is to be incredibly selective about who you let into your inner sanctum. Choose people who will lift you up and protect your vision, not tear it down. Embracing silence also cultivates a powerful sense of inner strength, and so when you're not seeking external validation for your goals, you learn to trust yourself more deeply. You become your own source of motivation. Your progress becomes a private victory, a personal journey between you and your ambition. This builds a resilient and unshakable confidence that no amount of external praise can ever replicate. You're not performing for an audience. You're building a masterpiece for yourself. This internal validation is far more sustainable and powerful than the fleeting approval of others. Think about the most respected figures in any field. They often have an aura of mystique about them. They move with a quiet confidence, letting their work speak volumes. They are masters of their craft because they have spent countless hours in focused, silent practice, not in public declaration. They understood that the energy spent on talking is energy stolen from doing. They embody the law of silence. They build in private, and the world is left to marvel at their public results. This is the path to mastery. So, I challenge you today. Pick one goal, just one, that you're currently working on. And for the next 30 days, commit to the law of silence. Don't talk about it. Don't post about it. Just pour your heart and soul into the work. Channel all that energy into making tangible progress. See how it feels to have your motivation come from within. See how your focus sharpens when you're not distracted by the opinions of others. I promise you, at the end of those 30 days, you will just have made more progress than you thought. Possibly you'll also feel a profound sense of personal power and accomplishment. You'll understand that the loudest statement you can ever make is the silent execution of your goals. Have you ever looked up at the night sky, filled with countless stars, and wondered, where did it all begin? It's a question that has captivated humanity for millennia. Today, we're going on an incredible journey back in time, further than any human eye has ever seen, to witness one of the most pivotal moments in cosmic history. The birth of the first light. To understand this event, we need to rewind the clock. Way back, we're talking about 13.8 billion years ago, to the very instant of the Big Bang. In that moment, the entire universe was an unimaginably hot, dense point. It was a chaotic soup of fundamental particles and energy, expanding at an incredible rate. But here's the thing. It was completely dark. Why was it dark? Because the universe was so hot and dense that light particles, called photons, couldn't travel freely. Imagine trying to walk through an incredibly crowded room where everyone is bumping into everyone else. That's what it was like for photons. They were constantly being scattered by charged particles, mostly electrons and protons. The universe was opaque, a thick, glowing fog with nowhere for light to go. This period is what astronomers call the cosmic dark ages. It wasn't dark in the sense of being cold and empty, but dark because light was trapped. For about 380,000 years, this cosmic game of pinball continued. The universe kept expanding, and as it expanded, it cooled down. This cooling was the key. Eventually, the universe reached a critical temperature, cool enough for protons and electrons to finally slow down and combine, forming the first neutral atoms, mostly hydrogen and helium. This event is called recombination, and it changed everything. Suddenly, with the electrons now bound to atomic nuclei, the photons were set free. The crowded room instantly cleared out. For the very first time, light could travel unimpeded across the vastness of space. This burst of liberated light is what we now detect as the cosmic microwave background, or CMB. It's the oldest light in the universe, a faint afterglow of the Big Bang, bathing the entire cosmos. It's like a baby picture of the universe, a snapshot of the moment it became transparent. So, problem solved, right? The first light was born. Well, yes and no. This was the asterisk, first asterisk light. But it wasn't the light from the asterisk first. Stars asterisk. The cosmic microwave background was a uniform glow filling all of space. The universe was now transparent, but it was still filled with a vast, dark sea of neutral hydrogen gas. There were no stars, no galaxies, no shining points of light in the sky. The true cosmic dark ages had just begun. For millions of years, the universe sat in this darkness, but it wasn't idle. Gravity, the silent architect of the cosmos, was hard at work. In this vast ocean of hydrogen and helium, some regions were ever so slightly denser than others. These tiny fluctuations, a cosmic version of ripples in a pond, were the seeds of everything to come. Gravity began to pull matter into these denser regions, slowly, patiently, over millions of years. As these clouds of gas grew larger and denser, the pressure and temperature at their cores began to skyrocket. Imagine squeezing a bicycle pump. It hits hot. Now, imagine the gravitational force of trillions upon trillions of tons of gas, all collapsing inward. The core of these protostars became unimaginably hot and pressurized. Eventually, a threshold was crossed. The temperature and pressure became so extreme that hydrogen atoms began to fuse together to form helium. This process, known as nuclear fusion, releases a tremendous amount of energy, and with that release of energy, a star is born. This wasn't just any star. This was the very first generation of stars, known to astronomers as population 3 stars. These first stars were nothing like our sun. They were true giants, hundreds of times more massive and millions of times more luminous. They burned incredibly hot and lived fast, violent lives, lasting only a few million years before exploding in spectacular supernova. But in that short, brilliant lifetime, they did something incredible. They pierced the darkness. Their intense ultraviolet radiation blasted through the surrounding neutral hydrogen gas, stripping electrons from their atoms. In a process called it's like turning on a series of cosmic lighthouses in a thick fog. One by one, these first stars and the early galaxies they formed began to carve out bubbles of transparent, ionized gas, clearing the cosmic fog. This era, known as the Epoch of Reionization, was the universe's second great transformation. The light from these first stellar giants traveled across the cosmos, ending the cosmic dark ages for good and setting the stage for the universe we know today. The universe was being relit, not with a uniform glow, but with the brilliant, focused light of individual stars and galaxies. When these first monster stars died, they seeded the universe with heavier elements cooked in their nuclear furnaces elements, like carbon, oxygen, and iron. These are the very elements that make up planets, that make up you and me. The death of the first stars was the birth of cosmic potential. Without them, the chemical richness we see in the universe today wouldn't exist. Subsequent generations of stars, including our own sun, formed from this enriched material. So, when you look up at the night sky, remember the incredible journey that light has taken, from the trapped photons in the primordial fog to the first flash of the cosmic microwave background, and finally, to the brilliant structure-forging light of the very first stars. Every twinkling star is a descendant of those first pioneers that bravely lit up the cosmic darkness. The story of light is the story of the universe itself, a story of transformation from a simple, dark beginning to the complex, brilliant cosmos we inhabit. Video opens with a shot of intricate architectural blueprints, then slowly pans to a person looking stressed, sitting at a desk littered with crumpled paper and coffee cups. The lighting is dim. Ever feel like you've built your entire life on a faulty foundation? I did. My name's Alex, and I was an architect. Not just any architect, I was the guy who designed skyscrapers that kiss the clouds, the one whose name was whispered in boardrooms. My blueprints were my identity, my structures, my legacy. I poured every ounce of myself into steel and glass, creating monuments for others while my own inner world started to crumble. On the outside, I was a success story. My portfolio was packed with award-winning designs. I had the perfect apartment with a view of the city I helped build. But inside I was hollow. The pressure was immense. Every new project had to be bigger, bolder, more innovative than the last. The deadlines were relentless, the clients demanding. Sleep became a luxury, and my passion started to feel like a prison. I remember one night, staring at a complex 3D model on my screen. My hands were shaking. I couldn't focus. The lines blurred, the angles warped. It felt like the building was about to collapse right there on my monitor. And in that moment, so was I. That was my breaking point. I was the broken architect, living in a beautiful facade I had designed myself, but the interior was uninhabitable. I started making mistakes, small ones. At first a miscalculation, a forgotten detail. But they snowballed. The whispers in the boardrooms changed from admiration to concern. I was burning out, spectacularly. I ignored the warning signs, the constant anxiety, the feeling of being perpetually overwhelmed. I just pushed harder, convinced that one more successful project, one more accolade, would fix the cracks in my foundation. But you can't patch a crumbling core with external validation. It just adds more weight until the whole thing gives way. So, I did the unthinkable. I walked away. I resigned from the top firm in the city, packed up my life, and left the skyline I had helped create in my rearview mirror. People called me crazy. They said I was throwing away my dream. But how can it be a dream when it's become a nightmare? I didn't know what I was going to do, or who I was without my title. Alex, the architect, was gone. It was just ... Alex. And frankly, Alex was a stranger to me. I moved to a small town by the coast, a place where the tallest structures were old lighthouses and ancient trees. For the first time in a decade, there were no deadlines, no clients, no expectations. There was just the sound of the waves and the vast, open sky. It was terrifyingly quiet. I'd spent my life filling space, and now I was surrounded by it. In that gate, I had to confront the mess I'd left behind, not in my career, but within myself. I had to learn to live without the constant validation of my work. I started walking for hours every day, just observing the natural world. I saw how a tree bends in the wind without breaking, how the tide reshapes the shoreline every single day. Nature's architecture is resilient, adaptable, and beautiful in its imperfections. It was a lesson I desperately needed to learn. Slowly, I began to build again, not with steel and glass, but with wood, clay, and my own two hands. I started small, fixing a rickety fence for a neighbor, building a simple bookshelf. There was no fame in it, no awards, just the simple satisfaction of creating something useful, something tangible. I discovered the joy of the process, not just the outcome. The grain of the wood, the feel of the clay under my fingers. It was grounding. It was real. I realized that my passion wasn't for designing skyscrapers. My passion was for creating. It had just been channeled into a path that was unsustainable for me. My worth wasn't tied to the height of my buildings or the prestige of my clients. My worth was inherent. That was the blueprint I had been missing all along. Today, I have a small workshop. I make custom furniture, restore old pieces, and sometimes I teach local kids how to build birdhouses. It's a world away from my old life. I don't earn a fraction of what I used to, but I am 1,000 times richer. I'm not the architect anymore. I'm just Alex, the guy who builds things. And for the first time, the foundation feels solid. I'm not broken. I'm rebuilt. If you feel like your own walls are closing in, if you feel like you're cracking under the pressure of the life you've built, please know that it's never too late to draft a new blueprint. Your identity is not your job title. Your worth is not your productivity. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is to walk away from a beautiful structure that is about to collapse and start building something smaller, simpler, and stronger from the ground up. Have you ever looked at a handmade object, something crafted with care, and felt a connection to it? Maybe it's a worn wooden chair from your grandfather, a knitted sweater from a friend, or even a simple ceramic mug you bought at a local market. What is it about these things that pulls us in? I think it's because they hold a secret. They hold the memory of their own creation. Think about it. Every object we create is a time capsule. It captures a moment, a thought, a feeling. When a painter applies a brushstroke, They're not just applying paint. They're embedding a piece of their focus, their emotion, their very presence onto the canvas. That stroke might hold the frustration of a difficult day or the joy of a sudden inspiration. Decades later, we can stand in front of that painting and feel the echo of that moment. It's a form of time travel, isn't it? This isn't just for grand works of art. It's in the everyday things, too. Consider the baker kneading dough in the early morning. With every push and fold, they are working in their patience, their dedication, the warmth of their hands. The finished loaf of bread isn't just flour, water, and yeast. It's the culmination of a quiet, focused ritual. When you break it open and smell that incredible aroma, you're experiencing the final chapter of that creative story. You're tasting the memory of its making. This idea extends to everything we build. An architect designing a building isn't just drawing lines on a page. They're imagining families living in the spaces, people walking through the halls. They're solving puzzles of light and flow, pouring countless hours of thought into the structure. That building, years later, stands as a monument to that initial vision, that burst of creative problems. It remembers the mind that conceived it. Even in our digital world, this memory exists. A programmer writing code is on a similar journey. Each line of code is a logical step, a decision made to solve a problem. It's a language of pure creation. The app on your phone, the website you're browsing, they are intricate tapestries woven from thousands of these tiny, deliberate creative acts. They hold the memory of the late nights, the moments, and the collaborative spirit that brought them to life. And what about the things we make for ourselves? The garden you plant, the journal you write in, the meal you cook after a long day. These aren't just activities. They are conversations with yourself. The soil remembers your touch. The pages remember your thoughts. The flavors remember your care. These acts of creation become part of our own personal history. They are markers of who we were in that exact moment. Looking back at an old project, a drawing from childhood, or a piece of furniture you repaired, is like looking at a photograph of your past self. You can remember the challenges you faced, the skills you were learning, the pride you felt when it was finally done. The object becomes a trigger for your own memory, a physical anchor to a past version of you. It tells you, you were here. You made this. You existed. This is the magic, the soul of creation. It's the invisible thread that connects the maker to the object, and the object to the person who experiences it later. It's a silent story, told not in words, but in textures, shapes, colors, and functions. It's a transfer of energy, of intention, from one person to another, often across vast stretches of time and space. So the next time you hold something handmade, take a moment, feel its weight. Notice the small imperfections, the signs of the human hand. Try to listen to its story. What memories is it holding? What moment in time has it captured for you to discover? Because in every crafted thing, there's a whisper of the past, a memory of creation, just waiting to be heard. Have you ever looked around your home, at the city you live in, or even at the apps on your phone and wondered, who came up with all this? From the chair you're sitting on to the interface you're scrolling through, every single thing was crafted by a designer. For a long time it felt like designers were the unsung heroes, working behind the scenes, their names unknown to most. But something incredible is happening. The designers are returning. And I don't just mean they're coming back from a holiday. They're returning to the forefront, reclaiming their voice, and reshaping our world in ways we're only just beginning to understand. This isn't just about aesthetics anymore. It's not just about making things look pretty. This is a fundamental shift. We're witnessing the return of the designer as a leader, a strategist, and a problem solver. For decades, many businesses saw design as the final step, the decorative layer you add at the end. You build the engine, you figure out the logistics, and then you call on the designer to make it pop. This often led to products that were functional but clunky, or services that were efficient but frustrating to use. The human element was an afterthought. But the most successful and innovative companies of our time have flipped that model on its head. They understood a powerful secret. Design isn't just about how it looks, it's about how it works. Think about the first time you used a smartphone that just made sense. The gestures felt intuitive. The apps were where you expected them to be. That wasn't an accident. That was a result of countless hours of user-centric design, where the designer wasn't just a decorator, but a core part of the development process from day one. They were in the room when the big decisions were made. This return is about designers moving from the drafting table to the boardroom table. They're bringing a unique perspective that other disciplines often miss. While an engineer might ask, "Can we build it?" and a business manager might ask, "Will it be profitable?" the designer asks the crucial third question, "Should we build it? And how will it make people feel?" This human-centered approach, this empathy, is what separates good products from truly great ones. It's the difference between a tool you tolerate and a tool you love. We see this everywhere. In urban planning, designers are no longer just laying out streets and buildings. They're creating livable cities. They're thinking about green spaces, pedestrian flow, community gathering spots, and how the design of a neighborhood can impact the well-being and happiness of its residents. They are crafting experiences, not just infrastructure. They ask questions like, how can this public square encourage social interaction? Or how can this transport system be accessible and stress-free for everyone, including the elderly and people with disabilities? The same revolution is happening in the digital world. The rise of UX and UI design has put the user experience at the heart of technology. Designers are the architects of our digital lives. They're the ones who fight for simpler navigation, clearer instructions, and more accessible platforms. They are the advocates for the user, ensuring that technology serves us, not the other way around. When an app is a joy to use, when a website is easy to navigate, that's a designer who has won a battle for you. This return is also fueled by a new generation of tools. With advancements in software and prototyping technology, designers can now bring their ideas to life faster and more vividly than ever before. They can create interactive mock-ups and virtual reality simulations that allow everyone from the CEO to the end user to experience a product long before a single line of code is written or a single brick is laid. This ability to visualize the future makes their arguments more compelling and their value undeniable. They can literally show you how a better designed world would look and feel. But what does this mean for the rest of us? It means we're entering an era of better designed products, more intuitive services, and more thoughtful spaces. It means we should expect more from the things we interact with every day. When you encounter a confusing website or a frustrating product, it's no longer just a minor annoyance. It's a sign that a designer's voice wasn't heard loudly enough in the creation process. Moreover, this is a return of the designer mindset. You don't have to be a professional designer to think like one. This mindset is about approaching problems with empathy, creativity, and a willingness to experiment. It's about observing the world around you, identifying points of friction, and imagining better solutions. Whether you're a teacher trying to design a more engaging lesson plan, a manager trying to design a better team workflow, or a parent designing a better morning routine for your family, you are applying the principles of design. The return of the designers is also about reclaiming the value of craft and intention. In a world of mass production and disposable goods, the designer reminds us of the power of things made with care and purpose. They champion sustainability, not just as a buzzword, but as a core design principle. How can we create products that last longer, are easier to repair, and have a smaller environmental footprint? These are design challenges, and designers are at the forefront of finding the answers. So, the next time you admire a beautiful building, use an app that feels effortless, or sit in a chair that's perfectly comfortable, take a moment to think about the designer. They are no longer the invisible hands shaping our world from the shadows. They are stepping into the light, leading conversations, and driving innovation. The return of the designers is not just a trend, it's a renaissance. It's a recognition that in order to solve the complex problems of the 21st century, we need not only the logic of the engineer and the strategy of the executive, but also the empathy, creativity, and human-centered vision of the designer. The world is getting a major redesign, and frankly, it's about time. Have you ever looked at an old photo and thought, wait, that's not how I remember it? Or argued with a friend about the lyrics to a song, only to Google it and find you were both wrong? This isn't just a faulty memory. Welcome to a phenomenon that is blurring the lines between what is real and what is not. The rewriting of reality. Think about it. Our entire world is built on shared stories, shared histories, and shared facts. But what happens when those foundational elements start to shift? It's not science fiction. It's happening right now, in subtle and not so subtle ways. Let's start with something we all interact with daily. The internet, the digital world, is a living, breathing archive of human knowledge, but it's also incredibly malleable. A Wikipedia page can be edited in seconds. A historical photo can be altered with a few clicks. An old news article can be taken down, effectively erasing an event from the accessible public record. This constant state of flux means that the truth we find online today might be different from the truth we find tomorrow. The digital ink is never truly dry. This isn't just about mischievous trolls or simple mistakes. Consider the power of algorithms. The social media feeds and search results you see are tailored specifically for you. Your digital reality is a personalized bubble, curated to show you things you're likely to agree with. Over time, this creates echo chambers where alternative viewpoints and even objective facts that challenge our beliefs simply cease to exist. In our curated information streams, two people can look for information on the same topic and be presented with two completely different, even contradictory, realities. Then there's the fascinating and slightly eerie world of collective memory, often discussed through the lens of the Mandela effect. This is where large groups of people share a specific, detailed memory of something that never actually happened. The most famous example is Nelson Mandela's death in prison in the 1980s, which countless people vividly remember, even though he was released and lived until 2013. Is it a case of mass misremembering, or something more? People misremember the Berenstain Bears being spelled Berenstein, or the Monopoly Man having a monocle, which he never did. While psychologists often attribute this to the way our brains simplify and store information, these shared false memories highlight a crucial point. Our perception of reality is far more subjective and fragile than we like to admit. Our memories, which we consider to be our personal, untouchable records of the past, are actually highly suggestible and can be collectively rewritten without us even realizing it. This phenomenon goes beyond trivial details. It extends into the realm of history and public discourse. Think about how historical narratives change over time. New evidence comes to light, and our understanding of past events evolves. That's a good thing. It's how we learn and grow as a society. But there's also a more deliberate rewriting of history, where narratives are shaped to fit a political agenda, or to paint a nation or a group in a more favorable light. Statues are taken down, textbooks are rewritten, and certain stories are amplified while others are silenced. The version of history you learned in school might be dramatically different from what students are learning today, or what was taught 50 years ago. The past, in this sense, isn't a fixed point. It's a story, and the storytellers hold immense power. The version of the story that becomes dominant becomes, for all intents and purposes, the reality for that generation. Now, let's bring in the game changer. Artificial intelligence. We're entering an era of deepfakes and AI-generated content that is indistinguishable from reality. We can now create photorealistic images of people who don't exist, and videos of public figures saying things they never said. We can generate entire articles, essays, and news reports with the click of a button. Imagine a future where a convincing deepfaked video of a world leader declaring war goes viral. The potential for chaos and misinformation is staggering. How will we know what's real? When a machine can perfectly mimic reality, the very concept of evidence begins to crumble. The phrase, seeing is believing, is becoming obsolete. We're moving towards a paradigm of believing is seeing, where we accept the version of reality that aligns with our pre-existing beliefs, regardless of its authenticity. So, what does this all mean? It sounds a bit scary, and in some ways, it is. The ground beneath our feet, the shared reality we thought was solid, is turning out to be more like quicksand. But it's not a reason to despair. It's a call to become more critical, more conscious consumers of information. The first step is awareness. Simply understanding that reality can be and is being rewritten is a powerful defense. It encourages us to question, to dig deeper, and not to take everything at face value. When you see a shocking headline or a viral video, take a moment. Pause. Ask yourself, who created this? Why are they showing it to me? What might their motive be? Secondly, we need to actively seek out different perspectives. Break out of your algorithm-fueled echo chamber. Intentionally follow people, read publications, and listen to voices that challenge your worldview. It might be uncomfortable, but it's like cross-training for your brain. It builds mental resilience and gives you a more complete, three-dimensional picture of the world, rather than the flat, one-sided version your feed might be showing you. We also need to value and protect the institutions dedicated to finding and preserving truth, as imperfect as they may be. This includes supporting rigorous journalism, preserving archives, and fostering academic research. These are the anchors that can help us stay grounded when the digital currents try to pull us in 1,000 different directions. Ultimately, the rewriting of reality is not a passive event that is happening to us. We are all participants. Every time we share an article without reading it, every time we accept a headline without questioning it, every time we retreat into our own comfortable information bubble, we contribute to the fragmentation of our shared reality. But the reverse is also true. Every time we engage in thoughtful conversation, every time we fact-check a claim before sharing it, every time we listen to an opposing viewpoint with an open mind, we are actively participating in the strengthening of reality. We are casting a vote for a world based on curiosity, critical thinking, and a shared commitment to understanding what is real. The future of reality isn't written yet. It's a collaborative project, and we all hold the pen. Let's choose to write a story that is honest, nuanced, and true, even when it's complicated. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive.